All right, let's get right into it. Generative AI. It's everywhere now, right? And it's created this huge new challenge that's just exploded right in the middle of our classrooms. It's forcing everyone, educators, students, to figure out this whole new world. And honestly, this quote from Stephanie Laghini-Fiore, it just perfectly sums it all up. Students are using AI to write their papers. Of course they are. This isn't some what-if scenario anymore. It's the reality. And it's created this really tough, kind of sticky question for instructors everywhere. How in the world can you be sure that the paper you're grading was actually written by your student?
So with all this uncertainty, what's the first instinct? Well, for a lot of people, it's what seems like the most logical answer. Fight fire with fire. The thinking is, hey, if students are going to use AI to write their papers, then we'll just use AI to catch them.
And you can totally see why this is so tempting, right? Especially for faculty who are already stretched thin, this AI detection software, it feels like a magic button. You just upload a paper, get a score back, and boom, problem solved. But, and this is a big but, this so-called fix is actually, well, deeply flawed.
I mean, just listen to this. This comes directly from Turnitin, one of the biggest players out there. They say their own tool does not make a determination of misconduct. Instead, it just provides data for educators to make an informed decision. So what does that really mean? It means the tool isn't giving you an answer. It's handing the problem right back to the instructor, who now has to make a judgment call based on pretty shaky evidence.
And that's because these new AI detectors are a completely different beast from the plagiarism checkers we're all used to. Think about it. A plagiarism tool is straightforward. It finds a chunk of text and says, hey, this matches this specific website or this other paper. Here's the link. It's verifiable. But AI detectors, they're basically a black box. They can't show you their work. They just spit out a probability score. We're 85% sure this is AI, without any real, hard proof you can point to. On top of that, they're known to have biases and just get things wrong.
So let's really dig into why these tools are so unreliable. For one, you've got false positives, where it flags an innocent student's work, and false negatives, where it totally misses AI-generated text. Two, like we said, there's just no way to check their work. You can't verify their conclusions. And maybe most importantly, they can't tell you how the AI was used. Did a student use it to brainstorm some ideas, which might be totally fine, or did they just copy and paste the whole essay? The detector has no idea. Oh, and if you run the same paper through 3 different detectors, you'll probably get 3 different answers. At the end of the day, it all boils down to this. You just don't get the kind of solid proof you'd need to accuse a student of cheating.
Okay, so if playing gotcha with detection software doesn't work, then what's the answer? Well, what experts are saying is that we need a major pivot in how we think about this, a pedagogical pivot. It's about shifting our focus from policing our students to just, well, teaching them better.
So instead of just reacting when you suspect something's up, the idea is to get ahead of the problem. Here's a kind of 5-step plan. First, be proactive. Take your own assignments, plug them into ChatGPT, and see what it spits out. You got to know what you're up against. Second, make your expectations crystal clear in your syllabus, no gray areas. Third, and this is a big one, actually talk to your students about it. Have a real conversation about the ethics and the rules. Fourth, start redesigning your courses. Create assignments that are just harder for AI to do well. Things like projects with multiple steps or more in-class work. And finally, number 5, plan for problems. Decide before it happens how you're going to handle a suspected case.
But look, even with the best game plan in the world, you're still going to have moments where you suspect a student used AI when they shouldn't have. It's just inevitable. So what do you do then? This is where the plan really kicks in. It's about shifting your mindset from jumping to an accusation to starting a conversation.
And this leads to something called a restorative approach. Now, what does that mean? Well, instead of the main goal being punishment, the focus is on learning. It's about giving the student a chance to really understand why what they did was wrong, and crucially, helping them build the skills so it doesn't happen again. The goal isn't just discipline, it's genuine student development.
So when you do sit down to have that talk, there's this really useful framework called the 3 C's. First, clarity. Be super clear and specific about what you're seeing that's questionable. Second, compassion. You have to remember this is probably a really scary, stressful situation for the student. And third, candor. Just be honest about what you think is going on and why. If you can do that, you're setting the stage for a real conversation, not just a big confrontation.
But okay, does this actually work? That's a totally fair question. Is focusing on learning instead of just punishment really going to change a student's behavior? Or is it just, being soft? Well, believe it or not, we actually have some data on this.
Yeah, check out this study from Georgian College. They had students who were suspected of academic misconduct, and they referred them to a training session. Now, here's the interesting part. For the group of students who were told they could resubmit their work after the training, a whopping 78% of them showed up. But for the group that wasn't given that chance to resubmit, only 48% attended. That's a huge difference. It shows you that the chance to actually learn and fix a mistake is a massive motivator.
So let's be really clear about something. This whole approach, it is not about ignoring cheating or just letting AI run wild. Not at all. It's about being smarter in how we teach. It's really a call for instructors to get more involved with their students' work, to engage more deeply in their learning process, instead of just, handing over that responsibility to some flawed piece of software.
And this idea of deeper engagement is actually leading some folks to look back at some really old-school methods. What's old is new again. Take the viva voce. That's just a fancy Latin term for an oral exam. It's where a student has to sit down with you and actually talk about and defend the paper they wrote. It's a pretty powerful way to find out if they truly understand the material, and of course, it's something that AI just can't do for them.
Which really brings us to the big question we should all be asking. Instead of just trying to use AI to catch our students, what if we asked, how can we use our own intelligence to deepen their learning? Look, there's no doubt that the rise of AI is a huge challenge, but maybe, just maybe, it's also an incredible opportunity. An opportunity to stop playing this endless game of cat and mouse and to really, fundamentally rethink what we're doing. To rethink how we teach, how we grade, and how we connect with our students.